Action Comics number 9, written by Grant Morrison, art by Gene Ha. This is a dense one. We have the introduction of the Superman of Earth 23, aka Calvin Ellis, President Superman. So this issue picks up with the Superman fighting Lex Luthor in one of his war suits, and he's like, "Why are you really that prejudiced against me, Lex?" And Lex is like, "I don't know. I'm not racist, okay? I'm not racist. I just hate everything else about you except for your race. That's the only thing." So Superman's like, "Okay, look, I beat you fair and square or whatever, but you barely even put up a fight. So what were you trying to protect over here?" And he goes inside of one of Lex's buildings and sees this giant red and green cube, and he calls up his Brainiac link, and he's like, "Okay, something about it's some sort of musical meta machine that's doing something, and it's getting louder." And all of a sudden a portal opens up, and a woman wearing an eye patch and two flaming bodies come out. And the woman's like, "Are we where are we? Are we back? Are we here?" And as she sees the Superman crest on Calvin's chest, she opens fire on him, and it doesn't do anything. It just bounces off of him. And he's like, she's like, "Oh, you're immune to K laser." And he's like, "It's a hate powered weapon that is set to deal with some other guy. Isn't that right, Clark?" And she looks behind her at the two like on fire bodies, and apparently that was Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen of wherever this woman came from, and they are just dead or dying at the very least because Clark is still clinging on. Superman's like, "Look, I have no idea what's going on here, but I'm willing to help you if you just want to tell me what's going on." And she's like, "We just proved that there's more than one planet Earth, and there's a bunch of like different Supermen on them. What makes you so different than them?" And then we get Calvin's backstory of, Krypton, Dune Planet, whatever. There was Jor-El and Lara who went to send their only son on the planet. In this version, they are black. That's, as far as I can tell, the only major difference here. But they send them to planet Earth, who then they are picked up by a kindly poor couple out on, I believe, a farm. And then he grows up and becomes Calvin Ellis, aka President Superman. And that's basically the gist of it. But then we get this woman's story, and just they make it a reveal at the end, but just for the sake of this, it's Lois Lane, of her planet. And they come from a planet where Clark went out and he learned about like you being able to create things out of vibrations and thought. So the three of them, Jimmy, Lois, and Clark, work together to make a machine that is able to just create stuff out of thoughts and vibrations, sound vibrations. And they're like, "We can just make whatever we want." And at some point, they decided to come up with the thought of a redeemer of their world called Superman. And he spit out some incredible ideas on how to fix the world, but he wasn't stable, so he disappeared. And because of something, they weren't able to remember any of his things that he said, so they know they needed more funding. They went to a business guy in order to get that. And I'm pretty sure he's the same dude who's been in like all the previous issues of Actions, the small diminutive man. He's in charge of Overcorp. I don't know, but basically they say like, "All right, here's the deal. Yeah, we'll help you, and it's all about the money. Like, we're going to be able to do great things with the Superman brand." And they're like, "That's not what it's about. So no, we turn you down." But then they go out to the bar and they talk about it for a while, and they like, "Did we really have a choice? Like, it could better the world." So they go back, they accept the deal, and then we see how she's so upset that they just sold out, and they gave up Harmony and all this stuff so that the company's version of Superman would be the most brand recognizable one, where he's a tragic, I want to see if I can remember this, a faceless, violent, troubled anti-hero concealing a tragic secret life, a global marketing icon. And we see that in this world, the idea of the Superman brand is just everywhere. It's just an advertising campaign for the most part. But there is an actual real Superman who's powered by thought, and he's been going through these different universes because he's chasing down Lois, Clark, and Jimmy, and is killing these different Superman that were in these worlds that they jumped to. First was a one called Optiman, and then was Chibi Superman on the Chibi planet. But as the Superman starts coming through, Calvin's like, all right, let me deal with it. But as he's doing so, he gets a call from his like chief of staff saying how there's a hostage situation in Libya that's like erupting right now. So he gets Brainiac online, tells it to deploy like a decoy Calvin Elvis, and then lets Brainiac handle the whole presidential thing while he's fighting this corporation Superman. So we get the brief fight scene between Superman and them, but then we cut over to the Libya thing where basically Brainiac's just like, here's how we can perfectly deal with the situation. We'll call on these favors and then these people will help us. And everyone's just like, you're so smart, President Ellis. We cut back to the fight, and again, he's holding up his own, but the Overcorp Superman is genuinely a difficult threat to deal with. Lois tries to jump in the way to stop him from killing Calvis, but then Lex Luthor shows up and says, 2 Supermen? This will not do. And he starts shooting at the brand Superman, seemingly taking it down for a while, because he wants to be the one that kills the real Superman. So, or at least his real Superman. So at that point, Calvin's finally able to get the upper hand. He hits a few good hits because of how he was raised by his parents, and then shoves the Superman back in through the portal machine, like the big cube. And then as he's shoving him through, he turns it off. So therefore, he wasn't actually sent to any world. He's just caught in like the in-between wavelengths between worlds. And yeah, he did it. So then we cut over, Superman's leaving the building. The Justice League has arrived on this planet. They're all black, except maybe Batman. And he's like, yeah, I guess I don't really need the Justice League after all, but something weird happened, and you're going to want to see this. And he goes in, and he gives his last respects to Clark Kent, who died on this Earth. And he says, like, look, I don't know what's happening. I feel like it's some amount of, like, this psychotic breakdown, but you're a survivor. We have something in common. Why don't you, like, come with me? By the way, what's your name? Lois Lane. And we see the Justice League investigating the big cube thing in the back. There's also a backup story to this, but I'll deal with that on week 5 when we get to it. Dear Lord, this threw out everything. This is like, here's the multiverse, here's like 4 different Superman, here's this one's origin, here's a different one's Lois Lane. This threw out everything. And it was good. It was definitely a solid issue all throughout. My only thing is, much like the Legion issues that were in, I think, issues 5 and 6 of this, maybe 6 and 7, it just comes out of nowhere and it just throws everything at you. And I don't have a problem with that for this one because I at least understand it better than I did the Legion thing, whatever it was trying to do there. It's something, man. It is a lot of heady concepts and it's just throwing exposition at you constantly. But it does still tell a story. So I definitely think it's a very well done issue. Art is pretty good throughout. It's nothing super standout, but it is still decent. And I really do feel like just in this brief issue, I get an idea as to who Calvin Ellis is. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this one I'm going to say 8.5. It's between that and the 8. So 8.5 I'm going to go ahead and go with. And it's a solid intro to a brand new character that to this day still continues on. So definitely a good start to a good character.